But look, yeah, let's get into it. Let's go around the NCAA. Both of us, came out successful. Our game wasn't even nationally televised, so we play NC Central, so we got that dub. What about you guys? I know you were complaining a lot about your quarterback. There's a little change there, though.
Yeah. So Alex Orji's the starter going into the USC game. I am very excited about that because Davis Warren, again, was brutal. And it's so frustrating because with him, you see those flashes of like, wow, he could be a really good quarterback. But then he makes so many boneheaded plays that like a starting high school quarterback should not make.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no disrespect to Arkansas State, but you shouldn't be throwing 3 interceptions to Arkansas State. Especially when you only throw 14 passes.
Oh.
For 11 of 14, 122 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Orji comes in, only throws 4 times, 2 of 4, 12 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
But the offense it looked smoother with him in the second half. Yeah. And I mean, this was 28-3, I believe. And then we put the backups in with like 5 minutes left. They score 15 points. So score looks a lot closer than it was. I'm excited to see what the offense looks like with Alex Orji going into USC this week because that defense has gotten much better in Southern Cal, and Miller Moss is playing like that dude too. So, USC is going to be a very tough matchup.
Oh yeah, and it's just the first year we're dealing with this, so it's not going to be easy to wrap your head around. But Michigan played USC in the regular season,
conference football,
right. So hey, the new Big Ten, man, it's craziness, man. But look, let's keep moving down the list. The game that I was watching, our buddy came on here Saturday, Will Kramer. Game day was in South Carolina. He was raring to go. They jumped out to this early lead, and you're like, hey, this might be a cakewalk. But, hey, LSU was no slouch, came back, made this a game. But, Alex, this game, and Will, he griped about it after the game. This game, in my opinion, was stolen from them. 2 pick sixes called back on account of penalties. The second one, where the quarterback throws a pick, he's running, looking at the guy running up the field. The defensive lineman simply puts his hands out and, yes, puts a little bit of force to the shoulder. But then all of a sudden the quarterback wants to flop and act like a dead fish on the ground and all this nonsense. And then 3 or 4 flags are coming in here. And the guy's like, I barely touched them. Like, what are we doing? So I get it by the letter of the law. But when it comes down, when the game is close like this, you can't steal a game like that, Alex.
No, LSU to me looked like the Kansas City Chiefs the way the refs bailed them out of these games. It was bad. It was really bad.
Yeah.
And to me, I think even with the refs essentially having an LSU jersey on, if Lenora Sellers plays that second half, they win that game.
True.
He was balling out. He was playing awesome, keeping them ahead of LSU. Just kind of keeping pace, keeping them down. And what they were doing with that run game with him and Raheem Sanders was phenomenal. Yeah. And then he got hurt. That ankle rolled up right before the half there. Robbie Ashford has to come in, and the offense kind of screeches to a halt for a while there, and then it picked back up. But this was a really fun game. I was sitting there too, like I was dual screening that one with the Michigan game, and there was times I was screaming at that game over the Michigan game. Like,
right.
It was a really fun game. Sucks that it ended that way. Will, I feel for you, man. That was a tough one to lose, and that close to 3-0.
Yep, absolutely. But hey, pay attention. You and I know we kind of agree on this. Pay attention to South Carolina this year, man. They're not
100%.
They're not backing down to anybody. And seeing, I think Eric put this in the chat, seeing how South Carolina just smushed. I mean, blew out Kentucky 31-6, and then Kentucky held Georgia. I mean, I forget the word he used, but technically that means South Carolina's above. But we'll see. But talk to me. What other games that you were you watching? This
kind of just cycled through a bunch of the games. I had my eyes on that Memphis Florida State game.
Yes.
Picking that as my one upset. I watched a lot of the Oregon State game.
Yep.
Peeked into Missouri Boston College back and forth. Watched Notre Dame Purdue for a little bit till it was well in hand.
It was done early.
A lot of the afternoon was spent kind of just peeking into games. The Utah State, Miami Ball State, Ole Miss, Wake Forest. Watched a little bit of that Texas UTSA game. And then I went up and watched the UFC card, so I didn't see the Georgia-Kentucky game. Was keeping tabs on it, though. Same with Nebraska, Tennessee.
Yeah.
A lot of those ones. Just kind of seeing what was going on.
Yeah. And that was more of what it was. I mean, I caught a little bit of the Michigan State. They, blew out a team, which I know it's Prairie View and A&M or whatever, but still Michigan State ain't blown out many teams in the last
They're doing
couple
what
years.
They should do.
Right, which is a surprise, and I'm glad to see, but let's see what happens when they really get into Big Ten play. I know they beat Maryland. But I mean, again, like you watched Maryland, they beat Virginia. Watched a lot of the in-conference stuff. Just I looked around myself. I was focused on those certain games that I was focused on. Very glad for our buddy Eric to see Notre Dame get back on top and really play like the Notre Dame team that we thought they were going to be. It does beg the question, and I asked this to him, which Notre Dame team is the real Notre Dame team? Because I know, everybody can play high like you did, but still, this is what I expected. What I saw last week is what in the world. So it's going to be interesting, man. But yeah, to your point, you called several calls. I think, did you call Washington State over Washington?
Yep. 2 for 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did good. I unfortunately decided the 1 week that Oregon is going to ball out to pick against them. They killed Oregon State. And then obviously my South Carolina was this close. So I was personally invested in it. Oh, my goodness.
We might as well count that as right because...
there you go. Oh, yeah. If the refs don't rob me, we're all good. We're all good, man. So, yeah, no, it was a crazy weekend. Obviously, you see Miami, Tennessee, a bunch of those blowing teams out and everything. Ole Miss blowing teams out. So it's going to be quite interesting. Once we start getting into a lot more of this conference play, you're going to start seeing some of these teams, some of these things level out. And some teams are going to – I think we're going to see a lot of shock this coming in October and November, man.
Yeah.
So